Aloha, friends and neighbors. Roland Frost here, Kona astrologer. We're going to do program 1033 and cover the third week in September. There's Pluto on a sky mirror. Now Pluto is slowing down and stopping and going forward. It's stationary direct, we call it, on the 26th of September, not so far from you. And normally this makes people, I call it eek a bug. Your reptile brain gets very powerful. That's what Pluto's about, is that final little brain off your brain stem, off your spinal cord, that the reptiles all have, And but all these things under the ground, under the surface, secret things, that's what Pluto's all about. It's the ruler of Scorpio. And so when you're talking Pluto, well, you're talking Scorpio, see? And so this is a very interesting time. Now, right now, Pluto happens to be stopping on the 26th in trine to Mercury. And Mercury is stopping in the sky and going direct, stationary direct, the end of 3 weeks of Mercury retrograde. So Mercury's stopping on the 21st, and it's getting really strong. That's words. That's the communication, transportation guy, Hermes, taking messages from the gods. Now he's stopping at 15 degrees of Virgo, and Pluto's 15 degrees of Capricorn. Capricorn to Virgo, well, that's a trine. So we have the messenger talking to Pluto, which might be the researcher, the investigator. I call him Sherlock Holmes. Here's more discoveries about the Great Pyramids and what's underneath in the tunnels and, things underground. Oh boy. So you're going to get a lot of messages coming up for your whole next week. And it's all about, Mercury bringing messages from Pluto. Now this could be police, could be guns, could be research of all kinds, huh? So here's the data. Mercury goes direct, 7:32 p.m., Wednesday the 21st, okay? You have a full moon coming up on the 16th of September in the morning at 24 Pisces. That, which isn't a bad moon. It kind of gets rid of Uranus stuff. But the main thing is that Mercury's stopping. And when Mercury stops and stations, usually the wind stops, your mind goes calm, you begin to understand the meaning of words. All the words break. Volcano, volcano, and you all these words are pieces of things put together. They're symbols, they're not the real thing. You got to remember that. So here's Mercury stopping the messenger on the 21st, and then Pluto comes along on the 26th and stops and says, hey, Mr. Mailman, take this important letter. It's about research that could change everything, and it's all, the volcano, yes, and transportation. And look, folks, we're on the Big Island, and we have one of the most mellow volcanoes, doesn't explode, no gas in the magma. Our volcano, it doesn't have to be a big stinky corporate thing like a refinery or something. I mean, people in the world have learned to tap volcano heat very simply without any environmental consequence, and that heat could power the islands, it could power Honolulu, power all of Hawaii, with a volcano. I don't know what's going on here, but, people are kind of short-sighted. Anyway, we're in for some very enlightened information from deep down. Great research will be published. Mercury likes to get the word out. He publishes stuff, he's especially on September 19th, September 24th, and September 28th. Great stuff. Well, let's get back to the sky mirror. Let's go through it the next 10 days and take a look and see what's coming up for you and me, huh? Now, as you begin your week, the sun is moving from 24 Virgo to 4 Libra. And at 24 Virgo, well, there's a red line, there's a square up to Mars at 23, 24 Sag. So the sun squaring Mars, everybody's pissed off. You lose your temper easily. Ask yourself what you're protecting. Mars wants to protect things. He wants to fix things. You know, pull the weeds, fix stuff, do physical work to protect. That's what Mars does. He's a hero. But if he doesn't know what to protect, or he's confused, or how to go about it, bang, he gets angry. Out comes the sword. You got the god of war. So which Mars are you going to play with? It's going to happen starting where you're at now, and it's going to go through all next week, basically, until the sun goes into Libra on the equinox. Which is still, 6-7 days from you. The other thing of importance is Venus here is at 21 Libra right now, and it's going to oppose Uranus in a couple of days, and very independent, but pretty girls and young girls having trouble with electrical things that go around, cars, railroads, airplanes, all those things that have motors and electrical things. So, there's going to be a lot of noise, and it'll disturb your peace and quiet. That's what it comes to. The nice thing is that Venus and Mars are in sextile, and especially for the next few days. Here's Juliet, and she's at 21 Libra. Mars is at 23 Sag. Sag to Libra, that's a sextile, fire to air. So there's a romantic side of this time too. Besides discovery, that's what Pluto does best. I used to work for lawyers investigating accidents, and there's this period of time in this legal matters called discovery, where both sides, the prosecutors and the defense, have to give each other all their evidence. And I usually never went to court because I investigated. I'm an investigator, and I did so well at discovery, it usually settled all the lawsuits and Anyway, you still got your Saturn at 11 Sag, squaring Neptune, and the eclipse that set it all off, which is happening to me tonight on August 31st, covers the whole month. So there's scary stuff, and the judge is there, and this, remember, this eclipse opposed Neptune. So we're not going to like Neptune. We're not going to like the chemicals and the drugs, and whether they pick out the real Neptune culprit like Monsanto and outlaw Roundup, which they should be doing right away. They may pick out some poor movie star or some famous person and go after them. Can never tell with American media. But there's problems with Neptune. There's going to be flooding all over the world, and problems with rivers and with drinking water and chemicals, and that'll be a fun thing to watch. So, how's it go day by day? We're going to run the moon around the edge, and as it takes a whole month to go around, as it goes through one day, it makes angles to these planetary bodies. These are really the actors on the stage. You notice I've marked the heavy flooding periods here. This is supposed to be blue water problems, and you just went through one. If you're watching this show on Thursday night, you're right here. Well, the last day or two, you've had Neptune problems, haven't you? And I think the result of the Madeline and Lester will be a lot of water, and that's my prediction. Anyway, there it was. Thursday morning, the moon went by Neptune. Confusion, delusion. You can't remember what you thought 10 seconds ago? Well, that's the Neptune thing. You're in a period of confusion. If you're spilling little things and you feel a little sloppy, that's Neptune. It's time not to do things. No, Thursday morning wasn't the time to go start something. No. It didn't get too much better either as you go along. While the moon's still in Pisces, here's confusion from Mercury. And Mercury is stopping on the 21st. So here we are just 3-4 days before it stops. And you're opposing Mercury. Mercury's retrograde. And so things aren't delivered. They're the wrong things. You got to take them back. Mercury is really a problem here Thursday night. There is a sextile to Pluto. So, if you're watching the show Thursday night, it's about discovery. Go check out the Bosnia pyramids on the internet. Whoa. Have some discovery Thursday night. Maybe this will happen on my show here. We'll see. Friday, the moon's still in Pisces on the 16th. And it starts with that Mars-Sun square. And so everybody's ticked off. They're in a big hurry. Stay out of the way. Everybody's rushing. They're going too fast. There's road rage. There's anger. We not only got to deal with the Neptune-Saturn thing and the confusion of it all, and Venus opposing Uranus, but here's the Sun squaring Mars. You know, and watch out, you men. If you get angry, you get impatient, ask yourself what you're protecting, and get out and, you know, pull the weeds or something. You know, boo the Roundup. I suggested to council member Willie that she gets one of the road managers here in county to fill up one of their big trucks with seawater and go check out, get a couple of miles and do a test and spray the seawater along the road to knock down the weeds and see what happens. She said, great, I'll do it. She's going to report back. Anyway, this is constructive physical time, not anger time Friday. Everybody's overdoing it when the moon slips into Aries and opposes Jupiter, and there's too many clowns around. Everybody's clowning. Enough of that clowning, you know, Friday afternoon and after an evening. When you get to Saturday, the moon is still in Aries, and you're pretty well organized here Saturday morning. There's a nice trine to Saturn, and that's, but you bump right up against the square to Pluto. Eek, a bug, a little panicky. And is a volcano going to let me do this? Here's the police. You know, what's the song? There's a man with a gun over there telling me I got to beware. That feeling is Pluto. So, you know, look out. Here's the bugs. I'm getting a lot of bugs already. I'm trying to be Buddhist about it, but never mind. Sunday on the 18th, well, the moon's going to go by Uranus. It starts with this opposition to Venus. Well, first comes Uranus. About this time, you're going to have a sudden, you know, awareness glitch or an awakening. Wake up, you know, because Mars is trining Uranus, and the heroes are out. And if you get organized, you can change things. You know, Vietnam War was stopped because of the USS Hornet. Sailors said, we're not going to fight anymore. World War II or World War I was stopped because German sailors on a battleship said, we're not going to fight anymore. And these things, you can stop wars, you can stop Monsanto. If you just get together and get organized and get a few thousand people, amazing things happen. And so that's it. That's the thing to think about. But look out, Venus here, she doesn't want any part of it. She wants to do her nails and do her hair and have fun and be pretty, and that's just the way Venus is sometimes. But she's in trouble with the electricals. Venus, if you're going to plug it in, put one hand in your pocket. That goes through Sunday. And in the evening, though, the moon moves into Taurus, and it feels a lot better Sunday night. Everything starts to mellow out. And here's a nice sextile to Neptune. Here's music, art, religion, sensitivity. The higher heart comes out here. This is just around before lunch and around lunchtime, you know, on Monday. Very nice. Play some music. You know, if you have lunch, go out and sit under a tree and look for butterflies. The monarchs aren't going to be around because Monsanto's Roundup is doing in the whole species. Oh, wait, no. Be mellow. Be religious. You know, have faith. Things will change. And here's the research. Monday afternoon and evening. Yep, here's a trine to Mercury and a trine to Pluto. And some of the most amazing new things are going to come out here Monday night. Get on the internet. You're not going to see this stuff on the straight CNN, you know, Fox News, MSNBC. All these are just, they're talking parrots. They just repeat the same thing over and over again. But there's amazing discoveries going on, and the internet is where you're likely to see some of them. You should make your own discoveries. You know, you just sit down and look around, and there's things going on, And you should do some deep diving. Pluto is deep diving. So do some deep diving and get the straight poop. Monday. Tuesday, you're still feeling it. Feeling pretty good. You discovered that stuff. Here in the afternoon, here's a nice trine to the sun. And you got a plan. I'm going to get things done. Yeah. And here's another trine to Jupiter. The moon shifts into Gemini after dinner Tuesday the 20th, and it changes again. All the vibes, gets a little more jittery, hard to do things. Overdoing things here late. This is 10:11 o'clock in Hawaii with the square to Jupiter. The clowns are out there again. Oh, it's a trine, excuse me. So here there is some wisdom. Some lawyers said some really smart things. We'll lawyer up and stop that Monsanto thing in court. Oh, good. Wednesday, you might still be feeling optimistic, because Tuesday night's very optimistic. But Wednesday on the 21st, in the middle of the day, here's that Neptune-Saturn square. Starts with a square to Neptune. Too much water. Flooding. Can't do anything. Can't turn off the faucet. There's a break in the pipe. Where do I turn off my water? And there's difficulties. And the difficulties go all through the middle of Wednesday. And you're going to see that the government and the guys in suits and ties are unable, to deal with religion, art, music, chemistry, oil, Monsanto, Standard Oil. There's a problem here. And we need to handle it, folks. So the problem comes up Wednesday, and you're kind of stuck. Yep. Thursday, you get a little freedom. Just before lunch and around lunchtime, there's a sextile to Uranus, and the higher mind comes out, and some engineering maybe will help, and your friends. And we're all one. I mean, literally, we're the same spirit in different charts and different bodies. In la catch, the Mayan said, I am another you. Uranus enlightenment, huh? Thursday night, here's a trine to Venus. If she stayed out of trouble with the electrical motors and the transportation problems, she could be pretty happy here. Late Thursday night, early Friday morning. This is 2-3 o'clock in the morning in Hawaii. And Venus is smiling again. There's a square to the sun Friday morning, so if you try to get up and go to work, it's not going to be real easy, and your ambitions and plans aren't going to go through. So just coast a little bit, huh? Friday night, here there's a nice trine to Neptune. And that'll feel pretty good. Here's music. So here's pretty girls and sweets and sexiness and love showing up early Friday, and then in the afternoon and evening, here's music and art and entertainment, and could be a pretty good Friday. Late in the evening, here's a sextile to Mercury, and the kids are happy, and there's good words, and everybody's optimistic, and it looks pretty good, doesn't it? But hey, look out here! Look at this. Who's that? There's Pluto lurking there. Saturday morning. What's that? That's a volcano, huh? Yeah. And this is kind of common for this time, and this is the 24th, and Pluto is stopping at 26th, and so you're not going to like this Pluto. You're not going to like the guns and the police and the research and the volcanoes, and there's this feeling of panickiness, and sirens is going to wake you up early Saturday morning. What is that? Something crawling on me? Big old cockroach about 2 inches long. Eek, a bug. Very common on Saturday morning. So expect to be a little panicky, and just go slow, keep calm, carry on. Pluto is acting up, and you probably won't like it too much. Uranus is in square here on Saturday afternoon, and so the electrical stuff isn't working too good either. Some places in the world could have a real tough time here on Saturday. It goes into Sunday. Sunday morning, there's no rest. There's the moon squaring Venus. There's no sweets either. But there is some good sense. There is a sextile to Jupiter, and the wise lawyers come out about noontime and say, well, we can do that. And the judge seems to agree, and there's some common sense comes in here Sunday on the 25th. You know, the trine to Saturn isn't until midnight or so. So if you're going to think out some problems, you got to stay up late for the final freezing of the information. You know, but lawyers and judges could work together here a bit. No, it's Sunday. They're going to take the day off, aren't they? Boo. Well, I hope you have some discovery. I hope that you handle some new information, because this could be a very enlightening time